Do you like wrestling? Do you ever watch wrestling?
No. Nope.
And The Rock said, whoa, 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 whoa.
What's up, gang? Welcome to Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring. I am your host. My name is Mike Wellman. Thank you for hitting that play button. We appreciate you here. As always, like I said, welcome to the show, guys. This is episode 87. I am pretty sure of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. If you can believe we've done 87 episodes of this podcast about people doing flips and doing fists. So joining me, as always, is the voice of the people, the notorious Wrestling Fan Kris. Well, what's up, Chris?
What's going on, Mike? Good to be here. You got me with people doing fists.
Doing flips, doing fists. Well, actually, we haven't really seen any of that on wrestling recently, as far as I can remember. But we have seen some belly-to-belly suplexes from Shelton Benjamin in AEW, which we're going to talk about. So on this episode, we are going to talk about Jon Moxley just straight up taking over AEW. Folks, what is Jon Moxley's motivation for putting a bag over his longtime friend Brian's head, retiring him, trying to kill him, taking over all of AEW, speaking in cryptic tongues? I don't know what he's saying. It's like he's back to his Shield days where they're just workshopping stuff into the camera. Or does Jon Moxley have a larger plan? We're going to talk about that. The AEW roster rebelling against Jon Moxley. Poor Chuck Taylor. Orange Cassidy seems to be leading the charge against what used to be the Blackpool Combat Club. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Hangman Page, just whatever he's been up to this week. We're going to talk about. Also going to talk about the Hurt Business in AEW, MVP, and as I said, Shelton Benjamin making a splash in his 2 AEW matches so far. So we're going to talk about that. Obviously, we are anticipating the arrival of Bobby Lashley at some point in AEW. Talk about Kyle Fletcher's long promo from Dynamite this week, featuring Don Callis. And we're also going to talk about the Bloodline. It's been a lot of action going on in the past couple of weeks on SmackDown and Raw, because Solo Sikoa had tickets to Raw. I didn't have tickets to Raw, but Solo did. So, a lot going on with the Bloodline, showing up on Raw, attacking people. Jimmy is back. Jey is almost back. Will he, won't he? Where is Sammy? We'll get to all that. We're also going to talk about Cody versus Gunther going down at Crown Jewel, and Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan also going down at Crown Jewel. Both of those champion versus champion matches are for this large, gigantic championship belt, which looks like you would have to wheel it out on like a cart.
Yep.
Did you see the big giant case for that thing that they have?
When they first brought it out, I was like, "What is that thing?"
I actually really like that case more than the
belt.
Good,
it's a pretty good looking belt though. I hate it.
It's a big belt for sure. It's like if you took 10 belts and melted them all into one belt and used all the gold. That's what it is. Like, the 10 pounds of gold, the NWA 10 pounds of gold. What do you think this is? Do you think this is like 50 pounds of gold?
60.
And it's just pure gold.
Literal gold, yeah.
It's
worth $8 million.
I don't know how much that much gold would be, but I'm sure there's even more expensive.
Somebody get JBL on the line. He'll tell us.
Someone get Celebrimbor from Rings of Power to discuss this metallurgy of championship belts.
Very nice.
So we got a lot to talk about. And, before we go any farther, that's right. We need you to be kind, subscribe, watch wrestling with Mike Wellman. You already know where to find the podcast, folks. Spotify, Apple, Google. Subscribe to the podcast. Find us on social media. Instagram, at Watch Wrestling Pod. Facebook, at Watch Wrestling Pod. Twitter, X, at W Wrestling Pod. We're probably going to be on Blue Sky or Threads or Blue Threads pretty soon. We are now on TikTok, folks. Watch Wrestling Pod on TikTok. Basically, this entire podcast is now an excuse for us to make TikToks. So find us, patreon.com/watchwrestling, and we look forward to not having any problems. Isn't that right, Wrestling Fan Kris?
Correct.
Thank you, big fella. Not you, Chris. The fans, the listeners they're the big fellas who don't want zero problems.
I wish I was taller.
All right, so let's get into some AEW business. So, to sum up Jon Moxley's behavior in recent months, he has teamed up with Marina Shafir. He's evolved his female heater gimmick, which is good. It's a positive step in the right direction. He's enlisted Pac to the former Blackpool Combat Club. It didn't stop being the Blackpool Combat Club when William Regal left the crew, but it did stop being the Blackpool Combat Club when they put the plastic bag over Bryan Danielson's head after Moxley beat him for the AEW World Championship, thus retiring him from his full-time career.
Yeah. There has to be a line.
So William, like I said, Regal leaving, going back to Blackpool, Connecticut, that didn't cause the name change to no name, because now they just don't have a name, but they do have Pac. So Pac, Wheeler, Yuta, Claudio, they are the trios champions last time I checked. And Wheeler Yuta, he was on the fence, right? He had respect and admiration for his hero, Bryan Danielson. But no, he put that aside when he put the bag over Bryan's head. Can you believe this? Why would you try to kill your own mentor?
Maybe if you kill your mentor, you get his powers. I don't know.
Maybe you get his entrance music.
You can start doing like diving headbutts and cravat locks and stuff.
Yeah, probably not from Wheeler.
No.
But yeah, so Moxley, not just taking over the BCC and putting them in a new direction, taking over all of AEW now. Moxley is having a vague and ambiguous war with AEW. We don't know what's going on. It's been a few weeks at this point. We could have gotten a little bit more information from Moxley. He's got these referendums, but we don't know what any of them are. Like, what do you want to change, Moxley? You're saying we don't know what's going on. We have no idea what's going on. We don't know what's coming. Everyone's partying when they shouldn't be. I guess that's probably a reference to like AEW's new TV deal and just the general celebratory atmosphere in AEW that they've, been able to secure the next several years of their company's future, right? So Mox doesn't like that. Nothing to celebrate, he said. He's just out here to beat people up in white V-necks.
He's very good. He's very good at doing this. He has an aura to him. I love the way he's acting, but you're right. It's kind of vague. I don't is there a higher power, and who's the higher power if it leads to that? Like, who's important enough for that?
Well, the higher power is already an AEW authority figure. We see him every week, Christopher Daniels. So
imagine if it's supposed to be him again, and at the last minute it gets changed to Tony Khan or something.
Last minute it gets changed to Christopher Daniels. He just pops out of a hood.
I mean, I've thought about this for a long time, maybe too many hours. I'm like, who could it can't be Shane McMahon. He's not cool enough.
Yeah, but I mean, so Moxley was just kind of referencing something that's like about to happen or is happening, right? But the announce team at one point was saying like, who is Moxley like working for, something like that.
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily the focal point, so it kind of makes me think like that might have been a direction they wanted to go in, and now maybe they aren't as far as Moxley working for someone, so to speak, or bringing in some type of ally that is not there yet.
Yeah.
But I also think that there still might be somebody. And I had a few names in my head. There's like the usual suspects, right? Moxley could be working for someone like Don Callis, Stokely Hathaway, Dean Malenko. He's backstage. Well, he's not backstage right now, I don't think. But Jerry Lynn, he works there.
They're just mad there's not enough 6-star matches. Dean Malenko and Jerry Lynn. That's the whole thing.
Yep. Tony Khan himself could be who Moxley is doing the bidding of. Maybe
That'd
Tony
be
Khan
wild.
is not happy about AEW's direction. That would be wild. I don't think it's any of those people. But yeah, the name Shane McMahon. I think the name Shane McMahon has been thrown around too much where it can't be Shane McMahon now. You know?
I love Shane, but he's like, I feel like he's too much of a goofy guy. He gives off like goofball, not like menacing. So I don't like that. But I love Moxley. That's the thing. Like, I'm only upset because I don't want this to be a letdown because Moxley's great. And he's so great at doing this and having those cryptic promos and walking around like he's going to kill everyone. He's so good at that.
He took the championship when he won it and he just put it in a bag. You know?
I mean, yes.
He didn't hold it up. He didn't hold it up for 1 second and then put it in the bag. He just put it in the bag and took it.
He's so good at this. Like that's like, to me, I love that kind of thing when you're playing this character.
Like it's like he stole the AEW championship because it's almost like the AEW championship is not featured on AEW right now because it's almost like he's confiscated it, you know?
Good point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And I think that this will lead to some good guys, right, trying to mount a counterattack like Orange Cassidy, especially after that brutalizing, Pillmanizing of Chuck Taylor.
Oh, yes.
Chuck Taylor, the second I saw him, I was like, they've got to explain why he's wearing, like, official AEW work garb, you know? Like Chuck Taylor, last time we saw him, I think it was, I don't remember who was beating him up very badly, but he's injured, and he's obviously, like, basically retired from an injury. And now he's, you know, part of the staff, which is very good that he's able to get a job, you know, and still work in AEW and still
Absolutely.
be featured on television. So it's like he points out like the AEW on his shirt and he's talking to Orange Cassidy about how he's got to like lead the crew against Moxley. It's like, really, this is the crew that was waiting outside the building for Jon Moxley. Satnam Singh, Karen Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett. He was like, no, we got to get out of here. Daniel Garcia leading the charge. Action Andretti was out there. Top Flight, I'm pretty sure, was out there. The Dark Order, they're anti-Moxley because Moxley beat them up. Moxley basically beat up the Dark Order and Top Flight all in one shot a couple weeks ago. Very reminiscent of the NWO Monday Nitro scene, right? Where they got the cops legitimately called on them, allegedly. So there's a whole crew out here trying to keep Moxley at bay. But you know what I think is missing from this? AEW, like, main stars. Because obviously it's either going to be Orange Cassidy or Darby Allin going after Moxley, right? As far as a one-on-one. But there's no... The extended crew is the people I just said. It's Top Flight, the Dark Order, you know, Daniel Garcia, Private Party.
When you were saying that list, I'm like... At first I think... we can't take it seriously because these guys aren't taken seriously. Well, they're good, but, like, they don't win a lot of matches. They're not, like, built up on TV. So, obviously... who cares about them? But I mean, unless this is like first step, you know, you beat up the lower card guys, then move to mid card, then you start beating up everyone.
Yeah, I think that, but I mean, that would be a lot of, that's a more long and drawn out thing because it's like, who are you going to beat up after you take out all these guys?
That's true.
I think, so the Elite kind of established that they're not really involved. We don't really know why, but they're not with Moxley and they're not with the baby faces. So they're just kind of like being heels where we're not involved. And House of Black doesn't seem to have any interest in this calamity with the company that they work for. You know, people like Hangman, Swerve on one side, or I mean, Swerve technically was on Team AEW, but I wonder if he still is on Team AEW with this kind of stuff. Christian's crew has not weighed in one way or another. So I'm saying is like, it's the mid card guys, and we need like I said, Hangman, Swerve, somebody. Jay White, Kenny Omega.
Oh.
You know. And I know that there's other feuds going on, but for this to be important, you need more of the top of the card talent involved against Moxley.
I agree. And I also think that, remember when Kane was debuting, he would just come out and beat people up out randomly and matches wouldn't happen. I kind of like that kind of chaos. And like that's the kind of thing that if Moxley's really just causing trouble and he doesn't care who he's doing it to, I think he should just come out randomly and during matches sometimes just beat both of them up.
You know, every time someone has kind of successfully done that Kane thing where they come out come out during the middle of a match, beat somebody up, match ends in like a DQ or no contest, and then they just leave. I've always thought of Kane. Like Lesnar did it for a little bit.
Yep.
It's been done a few times, and I always think of Kane, like interrupting every week on Raw.
It was. I mean, it's because I remember it too. Because it was the fire, the red. He's a pretty scary guy. Who knew that Glenn Jacobs was a scarier guy? But still.
Yeah, I definitely like Kane better than I like Glenn Jacobs. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So we don't know exactly what is next for Moxley, but I do think it involves a Darby Allin championship match, and it's just a matter of when that would happen. There's Full Gear, which I don't even know. Does Moxley have a match for Full Gear? There's no matches for Full Gear. Oh no, there's MJF versus Adam Cole or Roderick Strong. So let's talk about those guys next. Let's talk about MJF and Adam Cole, both of whom are back in AEW. They've reversed roles. So the story is now evolved into Adam Cole stole MJF's devil mask, terrorized anybody that was affiliated with MJF, attacked people, ultimately betrayed MJF and attacked him because he knows that MJF is actually a bad guy. And MJF's story is that he's been a bad guy because every time he was ever a good guy, people have betrayed him. And this time he wanted to be a good guy, but he wasn't really a good guy because he knew Adam Cole would betray him. And so now we're back to square one. MJF, bad guy. Adam Cole, good guy. Even though Adam Cole did the bad thing to MJF.
Yeah, you summed that up pretty well. I think, I don't know. When you say that, it kind of sounds dumb.
Well, it kind of sounds like they just went in a circle and actually tried to make it make sense. Listen, this is what I am for in these situations. Whenever something is not working, I am for pivoting away from it, for one.
Absolutely.
It can be kind of rough. It can be this group just disappeared off TV and went their separate ways and we didn't talk about it. It can be a transition. You got to pivot away from something if it's not working rather than make us watch something over and over again that's not working, So I'm fine with that aspect of it, and I'm fine with really saying whatever you've got to say to pivot away from it,
Yeah, I'm always for putting effort, even if it seems convoluted and they go in a circle. When you're putting effort to explain things, that's a thumbs up from me.
Right. Like, we could be getting better stuff. It just, that storyline was what it was, right? It was not the hottest one.
Yeah.
So now, but like I said, they're back. I don't know if they're still going to be kind of going against each other, feuding with one another. I think they should kind of move on, which they are, because, Adam Cole, he's still associating with the Undisputed Kingdom. And then Kyle O'Reilly is still paying attention to what's going on. But ultimately, Buddy Matthews got involved and challenged Adam Cole to a match.
Okay, yep.
So we're going to see that on, I think, Dynamite next week or 2 weeks, something like that.
That's a great match. What a match. I'm excited.
What's funny is, what I was thinking? When the House of Black was coming out for their match on Dynamite this week, I was watching them and I was like, man, like I say every week, these guys have such a sick entrance. They're all three such talented wrestlers. They have such a presence alone, together, and they're kind of buried in some spots that are not highly featured, right, on the card. And I remember we saw them when we went to Collision recently. It was like one of the highlights of the night, even though it wasn't necessarily like an amazing match or anything. But, they're definitely one of the bigger acts that we got to see. So I was thinking as they're walking down, I'm like, between the three of these guys, really, like Buddy Matthews, to me, is the guy that, like, should be, the focal point should be on him having singles matches out of any of them. I think they should all three be having singles matches, but Buddy in particular, because when you have this group, you have Malachi, who's like, he can be kind of like the leader, the mastermind, do a lot of talking, wrestle when he needs to.
Yeah.
But it's like, like I said, who should the focal point be on? And I'm thinking to myself, just as they're coming into the ring, like, man, I really wish we could see Buddy Matthews in some more singles matches. And then he gets on the mic and he calls out Adam Cole, and I'm like, yes, that's all we need. Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
This is good. Because I was even thinking, like, because, there's all this kind of, like, rumor mongering about House of Black. People say online that they don't want to lose matches and they want to leave, or they're not happy with this or that. Or there's like all kinds of stuff. But what we're really missing out on is them in, like, good singles matches, right? Mainly Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews.
Yeah.
So I was like thinking to myself, whether or not it's true that these guys have either tried to get out of their contract or have indicated that they would leave when it's over, or maybe it's all completely false, they're still in this position on screen, which is in this trio. They come out for 10-minute matches and then they're done. And there's not really much else going on. So I was thinking, I wonder if they ever would just say, have a good match. It doesn't have to have a story. Like, if you're in that position and they're not going to put you in a main event situation, right? Like, if you're Malachi or Buddy Matthews, would you ever just say, like, can I at least just go out and have a good match? I don't need to be pushed. Can I just get 25 minutes, please? And I was like, well, now they're going to do a little bit more than that, because obviously it's not just going to be a throwaway match, right?
No way, yeah.
So, but it does also seem like it's going to be kind of like a reintroductory match for Adam Cole, where he's not going right back into a match with MJF, or he's not going right into a match with someone like Jericho or, whoever. It's Buddy Matthews, who's in a trio right now, So
yeah, and Buddy Matthews can just have a great match with him and lose.
Right.
And it's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, we'll see how many stars that gets. I'm predicting 5.
5.25. There we go.
Yep, 5.25. That's a popular one. A lot of matches are getting 5.25 these days. So what else is going on in AEW? We have Kyle Fletcher, folks, who we have to talk about. Let's see how many minutes we go on here for. Kyle Fletcher comes out on Dynamite and starts cutting a promo about Will Ospreay. And he's just talking and talking and talking. And the crowd's like, wrap it up or get out of here, saying all this stuff to him. And there was one moment that I thought was great. He noticed that the crowd was like getting bored and not listening to what he was saying, because really he was a little wordy in that promo.
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying, and then what happened? And then he kept asking the same question. And what did you do, Will Ospreay? Well, and then what did you think? And then what did they say? And then what did he have for dinner? And it's like, so the crowd's not really into it. So then he turns around and he talks about how Don Callis bought him as much time as he wants, so the crowd better shut up. And they actually did shut up. They booed him louder for a second, and then they shut up. It's like, you got them to shut up. That's good,
Yeah.
Don Callis was over there. He said, hey, good job, kid. Great job on that, kid. The crowd just shut up. This crowd isn't worth it. They're not like the crowd in Winnipeg.
Oh, man.
We should kick this whole crowd out of the territory, if you ask me.
That's exactly. Thanks, Don.
Yeah, he said something on the pay-per-view that was hilarious. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, Kyle Fletcher, he basically went through and Darby Allin had a promo like this that kind of went on a little bit too much. People got disinterested. You're kind of talking about the same stuff. It's like no one cares about personal drama beyond a few sentences, that it's your motivation for why you want to beat somebody over the head with something, right? It's like, beyond that, I don't need to know who took your luggage and didn't put it back,
Yeah. Yep.
So he's talking about all the reasons why Will Ospreay was like a fake friend and betrayed him or whatever. And he also talked about how Will Ospreay had betrayed Okada. So it's like, thank you, or he like wasn't a good friend to Okada. So it's like, cool, thanks, thank you, Kyle. But so he notices the crowd is like saying wrap it up, and then he gets them to shut up, and then he starts saying over and over again that he is nothing like Will Ospreay. And I'm thinking to myself, you look just like him. Like, you're a taller version of Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
And then he, of course, shaves his head in the ring. He didn't shave his whole head, though. He only shaved a couple rows. Which, I'm like, you've already been out here. At least give us the full haircut.
You got cut for time.
He should have just kept going, because it's like, and then he does his pose, and he's got, like, the weird barbershop hair where it's like the haircut that you never want people to see you with because half your hair is missing. But he just stood there and looked itchy because he had several pieces of hair all over him.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking when he was buzzing his own head, I was like, man, That's really annoying if you have to wrestle after that, right? And you have to like take a back bump on itchy hair.
Oh, I hate it. Oh, take a chop to like your chest. Oh God.
You can actually get a sliver from hair, and it's harder to get out because it's so thin. You can get an infection.
I don't like it. It's horrible.
No more haircuts in the ring. But he didn't finish the haircut. He just left. So we'll see if he keeps it or he's finally going to shave the head and no longer be a taller version of Will Ospreay.
I mean, we like Kyle Fletcher, and just because that promo was long and weird, it's still.
No, I mean, I was listening. Yeah. I was paying attention. I was just like, wow, this guy's still talking.
He's a favorite of the pod. We've been talking about Kyle Fletcher for years. It feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why we're talking about him now, is because he is one of my favorites. He is, I think, one of the best guys in AEW, and I'm glad that he's getting some time here to shine on this. It's like a crowded roster in AEW, so it's good that he's getting time to tell the crowd to shut up so he can keep talking.
Yeah. And it's good that feud's personal, just because he kind of went too crazy on it. Still, that's good. Personal feuds are better.
It's just so much.
It's just,
when you can tell, it's like when you're at a party and someone's telling a story and you're listening and you're watching someone else with like a really short attention span just stop paying attention and you're like, you're losing them, get them back. So, Shelton Benjamin is in AEW. Did we already talk about Shelton Benjamin? Hurt Business?
No, we didn't. No, we did not.
We just said we were going to talk about them?
Yeah.
And we talked about him a little bit before the show.
Yes.
Shelton Benjamin is out here suplexing fools. Is he not, Chris?
Yes. In fact, I'm curious to how old this man is because he is so good still.
He's ageless. That's how old he is.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Because he has had so many comebacks where we thought of him as being an older guy who still has it, and that's just what he's doing now.
That's what I thought. I thought like, oh,
his last comeback. I thought that.
I know. I'm like, Shelton Benjamin in AEW sounds good, but he's an old man. No one's gonna care. I was way wrong. He's just belly to belly to belly. Oh, that's amazing.
That match with Lio Rush a few weeks ago was just one of my favorite matches in a while. He is just throwing Lio Rush. It's like they were just two different sizes. They were just completely different sizes, So he's just throwing Lio Rush all around with just perfect belly-to-belly suplexes. And Lio, he's so fast. Lio Rush can do 2 tope suicidas in the time it takes a normal person to do 1.
Yes.
And what he does is, the first one, he just throws himself from wherever he already is located. He just goes at that speed, which is already fast. Then he instantly gets up, runs back into the ring faster than anybody else can run, and does another one. And this is the time it would take like someone who just like looks at the crowd and does a tope, and then they go back, and then they jump. And it's like, he's done 2 already in that time. And it was a great match. Shelton Benjamin threw him all over the place. At one of those suplexes, he just threw him across the ring. It was amazing. And then this week, Shelton against Sammy Guevara. Now, this one had a little bit of backstory with Sammy Guevara having a photo that he took as a kid with Shelton Benjamin as a fan.
That's what I'm like. That's what I'm thinking to myself. Like, whoa, how old is Shelton Benjamin?
Do you think Sammy Guevara is still a fan of Shelton Benjamin after getting that belly-to-belly suplex onto the ramp?
I'm going to tell you yes, I think he is.
You just don't see people getting thrown like that in AEW.
I think he landed and said, "Thanks, pal."
Because he doesn't just like he's not just strong enough to pick everybody up. He throws you so far and fast. Like the way Sammy hit the ramp, it was like he could have kept going. Like it was like it was like a fast forward. It wasn't just like, here you go, see ya, bye. It was like he like smashed him into the ramp. It was ridiculous. So, needless to say, I am impressed with Shelton Benjamin in AEW, folks. I think that they should put the World Championship on Shelton Benjamin.
I mean, look, yes, please. But the Hurt Business is great. They were great in the pandemic. They were great always. And MVP and Shelton Benjamin are great still. I'm assuming, Lashley's going to come, but even if he doesn't, they'll still be great.
And MVP is another person. There's just no one else like him in AEW. He is very captivating on screen, and he's able to, like we were just talking about Kyle Fletcher, not exactly keeping the crowd's attention. MVP, it's like when he's talking, you have to listen. That's how he comes off to me. So.
Yeah, exactly. And MVP, I've said on this pod before, I was never the biggest fan of him as a wrestler. For some reason, I should have been. He's a good wrestler, but I just never liked him. But ever since he got into this role, top tier guy for me.
Yeah, so very interested. They're giving their business card to people. Leo got the business card, but then he also got suplexed. Who else they're giving it to? Max Caster got a business card. Anthony Bowens. Yeah, that was funny. Daddy Ass on that segment was like, I'm going to go get the car ready. And I'm like, why did he just say he was going to go get the car ready? And then MVP walks on screen to kind of try to take the Acclaimed or just Max. Gave him his business card. Mercedes, I believe, got a business card from MVP. He's just going around trying to recruit some talented individuals. And another talented individual we're probably going to see in AEW with this stable is Bobby Lashley, right?
Oh yeah,
he's already signed. I'm pretty sure is the report.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. He's just waiting to come.
So yeah, we'll see who. It seems like something with Swerve is gonna. We're obviously getting Swerve versus Shelton Benjamin at the Halloween Hurtin edition of Dynamite.
Oh, what a match! That's where Lashley will show up there, but that's gonna be a great match beforehand.
Yeah, I could see like a pay-per-view match, Swerve versus Lashley when he comes in.
I love that too, man. I think I just love the Hurt Business. Damn.
And like I said, they're never going to get Cedric.
I know, it's so sad.
WWE is not going to let him go.
It's a shame.
But yeah, I'm interested to see just in general who they pair Lashley up with in AEW. Do you go the route where it's like he's like the Brock Lesnar, where toward the end of Brock Lesnar's recent run, he was going against smaller guys. So and that's like most of the roster compared to a guy like Lashley. So do you put him up against smaller guys like Daniel Garcia, Hook, Nick Wayne type guys, or do you just do like other big meaty guys like Lashley and Wardlow, Lashley and Powerhouse Hobbs, Lashley and Lance Archer / Drew McIntyre?
I think I don't know. Lashley's a little different than Lesnar. I mean, he's up there in age too. Maybe he doesn't want to bump as much, but he still takes bumps. Lesnar has basically stopped, so I think I like Lashley and smaller guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm here for it. So one thing I want to talk about, we were watching Dynamite, and Hook was in the ring with Nick Wayne, right? And this, to me, just made me, again, think that Nick Wayne is... I'm trying to think who is a bigger young prospect for me right now than Nick Wayne, as far as like the youngest possible wrestlers that we see on TV. People like Nick Wayne, Big Billy Starks... all of these young, super young, talented people. And Hook, I guess Hook's a former, champion in AEW. So he's kind of like, and wait, Nick Wayne, were they the trios champions?
Yes, I believe they were.
But anyways, I just mean, as far as the young talent that is not exactly in the main event as of yet, I think Nick Wayne is at the very top.
I don't mean to get stray too far because he's not on TV a lot, but you like Nick Wayne more than Marcus Mathers for young people?
We saw Marcus on Raw.
I almost had a perfect segue. We're not quite there yet.
We're not into that segment just yet with Bronson Reed throwing people on Raw, but Marcus was definitely there. You're asking me if I think Nick Wayne is a bigger prospect than Marcus Mathers. He's already on Dynamite.
Yeah, but I mean, just how about in general, wrestling wise? What do you think? If Marcus Mathers was there too, who are you picking?
Nick Wayne.
Nice, I love it. I love to hear it.
But I would pick Nick Wayne above all those awesome, super talented indie wrestlers that But that's just because I just think that's the kind of like the level above that he is at. It's just like there's like a crispness to his moves, and that's as if he's done them 1,000 times already.
Fair, yeah, I like it.
So, just wanted to talk about that because they were out there Hook confronting them because so he saw some security footage that it was Christian who attacked Taz and took Taz out of action.
Nice.
Not exactly Teflon in the parking lot, apparently. They wrote Taz off so he could have surgery, which I have been informed he already has successfully, so Taz is on the road to recovery until probably another surgery that he needs.
Yeah, poor guy.
But, they had to write him off with a storyline because Hook, his son, is still there. So why not get some heat on Christian? Because, he needs heat, right? Who needs heat more than Christian? He just doesn't have any.
Can't get it either. He's not very good at it.
Just can't get any heat with the crowd, this guy, Christian. No.
If only they put the belt on Christian, Wonder if they'll ever do that.
Yeah, so, I already said they're going to put the belt on Shelton Benjamin, or they should. I mean, Christian's got to come first, though. So, talking about who's going to beat Moxley for the AEW championship, I don't think it matters. Because whoever that person is going to lose probably moments later to Christian Cage. The rightful AEW champion, the uncrowned champion, the real champion. The real main character of AEW, Christian Cage. How about that?
That's correct. The patriarch.
Yeah. No, there is actually, the main character of AEW is obviously Hangman. So let's get into Hangman now. What do you think of what Hangman's been up to the past few weeks, Chris? Just in general, the story of Hangman.
Well, where's it going? I don't know. Honestly.
Well, what did you think of him hiding out under the ring in that kind of time botch that they did a few weeks ago on Dynamite, where Kip Sabian jumps up on the apron and Christian's like, "No, not now," and then he's like, "Oh, okay, whoops," and then that was the signal for Hangman to come out, but they weren't ready for Hangman yet, so he came up on the rope like he was going to do the buckshot lariat, and then they were like, "This isn't that spot," so he kind of like had to disappear, but he's already on the rope, so he just hung out and like laid down on the ground on the mat.
That is kind of weird, yeah.
Until Kip Sabian's time actually came to interrupt, and then Hangman jumped in with the buckshot lariat to Jay White.
So I say, where's it going? Because I asked you a question. Do you think that was actually a fuck up, or
yeah,
is they're going to be like this Hangman's like a weird, crazy guy?
I think that was the most hilarious and also successful way to handle a time screw up. What Hangman did when he's like on the ground and he's like he's already out there. Like, what's he going to do? So I just thought it was, in the moment, I didn't kind of realize it until Kip Sabian came up and did the exact same thing again. And I was like, I was like, and then Hangman did the exact same thing again. And I'm like, oh, okay. That was what they were trying to do a minute ago. So, I mean, stuff like that happens, right? It's like, that's not, it would be if they didn't recover and something weird happened, that like they were able to still do the same spot. And it was just a weird moment where you're like, oops, I saw that one.
I feel like in general, I love Hangman, everything he does right now. When AEW first started, I'm like, he's fine. He's a good wrestler, but like, is he gonna be more than what he was? And man, is he shining as a character now? And he might be my favorite wrestler in AEW right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying put the belt on everybody. You can't really put the belt on Hangman and everybody else. And it's all these guys that we kind of want to see have the championship. But I wonder what Hangman thinks of Moxley's takeover. He's probably just sick of all the drama and doesn't give a shit. That's probably where he stands.
Yeah.
On Moxley taking over AEW or not.
That's kind of weird, though. He feels like the guy who would be the one to either stand with him or like stand against him.
Well, I don't know if he's done with Jay White, and that's a good feud, and that was a good match at the pay-per-view the other week.
Good point. You're right.
But I definitely think that, to me, Hangman is still really the main character of AEW. Like, whatever he's doing, I am most interested in.
Yeah. He's just, man, I always, ever since he was sitting in front of that burning house, he's been so, like, magnanimous.
He's a made man now that he burned down a house.
That's right.
That's what you got to do in this business.
It's like Randy Orton, okay?
I mean, everything like that Hangman's done has come off good. Like, they didn't like botch the burning down of the house video.
Yeah.
And you're watching Hangman slowly just go from, like sad. Remember we used to say he was like sad for no reason?
Yep.
And he's like, I was like, well, why are you so sad, Hangman? And now he's like the angriest mother effer on the roster. And you know not to mess with him because you know what he will do to your house.
That's right.
Burn it to the ground.
It works. Like AEW, man, I know they get a lot of criticism for booking sometimes, but when they hit on stuff, it hits hard.
So obviously I hope we see more of Hangman and Swerve. Don't think that, I mean, you don't just burn someone's house down and then they put a hypodermic needle. What's that? Oh no, that's a hypodermic needle. Oh. Man, Excalibur calling that Hangman and Swerve match, the cage match, it was like, I don't know if I've already said this on the show, but it's like Excalibur has seen it all, and if there's something that's too gross or gruesome for you, you can leave, but he's not leaving, you know? Because he's already seen it all. It's like he's like commentating like prison fights, and he's just the prisoner that's already seen the most gruesome stabbings and killings in the prison, and he's just like, and so like when he sees a certain thing, he knows what's gonna happen next, and he's just like, oh, that's a hypodermic needle. Oh. Like he knows where this is going.
Yeah,
he knows where this is going, and he's not leaving.
He's like, oh man, yeah.
If you'd like to leave, you can. He's like, no, I'm good. He's seen some shit because he just never questions like, what would he be doing with this hypodermic needle? He's just like, that's a hypodermic needle. You know? So, yeah, you don't just put a hypodermic needle in someone's mouth, bash them over the head with a chair, and then they're done. That's
true.
After you burn down their house.
I know, you're kind of a dick.
And then you bash their brains in. It's like, geez. I think Swerve...
They'll meet again.
Probably has some unfinished business. We'll see what happens with Hangman's mustache, because it's not getting any smaller.
I kind of like it, though. That's one of the things I like about him.
Hangman's like, if you give me 5 more likes, my mustache will double in size by next week. Every week, it's just... It's like he's just going to show up one day, there's just going to be no face.
It's all stash, yeah.
It's just all mustache. It's like, yep, that's Hangman. All right, so that's probably enough AEW business for this episode. We got to get into some WWE stuff. So, what do we want to talk about first? Do we want to talk about Cody and Gunther?
Yeah, I like it.
So, at Crown Jewel, we're getting Cody Rhodes versus Gunther for the Crown Jewel Championship, right?
Yes.
That's what they're actually calling it. It's a champion versus champion match. And on the women's side, we're getting Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan. Also for the Crown Jewel, for the white-strapped, I believe, Crown Jewel Championship. Like I said, the cases that they're carrying these things around in are so cool. I love, like, cases for things, and that's a cool case.
Jon Moxley, take note. Don't throw titles in bags. Get cool cases.
Yeah. Have those people carry your belt in a case, not in just the back of a pickup truck.
Yeah, right.
Have Ben carry the case. And Marina. Because those are their shoot names. And you guys are shooters. It's like Pac. Who's Pac? That's Ben.
Yeah. Ben. Somehow Ben just doesn't have the same like feel to it as Pac.
Yeah. Pac's more intimidating than Ben.
Yeah.
In life, too.
Definitely.
If you ever see a picture of Pac in his normal clothes, he doesn't look like Pac.
Just some guy from England, yeah.
But anyways, these championships, I don't know if they're going to be just kind of exclusive to Saudi Arabia shows, probably. I don't think we really want to see them defended or brought like outside of the Saudi shows. They're not probably going to have that much purpose. But it's probably also better that they've getting their own championship as opposed to the main championships, kind of them being forced to have these big moments in Saudi Arabia. You can just have your own Saudi Arabia moments, and Shane McMahon doesn't have to win something that's called the best in the world.
Yeah.
You know?
The Fiend doesn't have to lose to Bill Goldberg.
God. The worst. So, yeah.
Instead of having Shawn Michaels, a bald Shawn Michaels, in the ring, we can have the Crown Jewel Championship defended. Thank you.
Instead of having The Undertaker and Kane wrestle like dickheads. Against Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Yes.
Wrestle like assholes. Oh, God. That was one of the worst wrestling matches I think I've ever seen. Besides, like, Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Still.
So now, we don't have to worry about Shawn Michaels coming out of retirement to wrestle. We're getting, these Saudi exclusive championships, and we've got basically 4 world champions that are going to be competing for these. So that's going to make it so 2 of these champions are not going to win. So then they're still champions. So how do you think they do that, Chris? Do you think that these matches, will have clean finishes, like Cody or Gunther is going to win clean? Same thing with Nia and Liv Morgan. Or do you think it'll be a lot of overbooking and interference and stuff?
I don't think they can. I think it's going to be clean. Because if you go through all this trouble to make this title, as presumably because all the reasons we said, but also because the Crown Prince is like, I want big stuff to happen. If you want big stuff to happen, that doesn't include schmazzes, doesn't include DQs. It includes clean pins. I mean, maybe someone comes out and like interferes for a second and that leads to like a clean pin. But I don't even think that's going to happen. 1-on-1, sorry, Gunther, you're losing. And now we have to pretend like when he comes back that he's not the secondary champion to Cody.
Yeah, I mean, they've been spending quite a bit of resources building up Gunther, and it's worked. He's seen as really one of the top guys in WWE. And, the championship just looks so like such a natural fit on him. He's like, there was a time when we weren't exactly sure if WWE was going to go that way with him.
Yep.
Probably, more in the Vince McMahon era. But, now it's like, yes, he's the world champion. I could see him being a 3-time, 4-time world champion within the next few years. But he's not beating Cody.
No. Is this bloodline important enough to cause... Well, you're right, Cody's going to win. But like in general, though, do you think this bloodline would be important enough to make Cody lose? I don't think they are for the Crown Prince. If it was Roman's bloodline, sure. But not this one.
Well, in general, I wonder if they would have anybody... the bloodline, if they got involved, it would probably be Roman, right? Because Roman's the one. Cody is the one in Roman's way. Solo is kind of like not the Solo and Cody thing it's kind of done for now.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Roman and Cody. So I feel like if someone's going to interfere against Cody, wouldn't it be like Roman or perhaps
that would be this. That could work. I don't know if they're probably not going to do it, but he'd be the only one I think that could come in and interfere and have Cody lose and not have it be either have the whole Saudi Arabia mad, or have the fans mad, or make Cody look weak.
I think I'm going to write this down because I think my pick here, where after we just said Cody is not losing, I think we're going to write down Gunther beats Cody. Gunther beats Cody after interference how do you spell that? Somebody asked me how to spell the word reception the other day.
Nice. Okay.
Gunther beats Cody after interference from the final boss. To me, that's the only person that can cause Cody to lose is The Rock.
As we were speaking, I was thinking that too. And you know what? That might happen.
Wouldn't surprise me. Don't know. My pick is still going to be Cody. Cody wins because you can't have Cody lose. That to me, The Rock is the only thing big enough here to justify, well, Cody lost, yes, but here's what happened. The Rock came back and sabotaged everything. It's like, oh, well, The Rock screwed him over, setting up Cody versus The Rock.
That's good, but you're right. I don't know if they're doing that. That's a good point.
It's a big enough thing for Cody to lose, but he's still the champion. This thing is right in itself. So, yeah. Otherwise, they just have a great match like they did at the end of the Royal Rumble 2 years ago or last year, and then Cody wins. But then Gunther is still the world champion.
Yeah. Do you think that, this is definitely not going to happen. But, like, what if Cody wins this? Is it Cody and Gunther at Survivor Series like the old days when they put the champs against each other? And then that's when Gunther wins? I just think that's a bad move too, though.
No, I think this is the sort of version of that. The champions versus champion is just the Saudi Arabia thing now, and they're going to do War Games at Survivor Series. And it's like, it's War Games. Cody is Dusty's son. He wants to put on a pair of pants and tie a bandana around his wrist, you know.
Yeah,
you
you're
might see
right.
Cody in a War Games match, but it might be Bloodline versus Bloodline with Cody on one side. Who knows? But yeah, I'm not sure. I think that the main thing for Cody is getting to WrestleMania and a match with either The Rock or The Rock.
Yeah.
That's because I don't even know. They could still do Cody versus Roman. Like I said, they could do that at any point, really, and they could do it on like a SmackDown if they really wanted to, but it would be like a big deal. Because they do that now with matches in WWE. They just put big matches on random nights to finish a feud on a random Friday or a Friday before a pay-per-view or something. So they could book to that. There's also the Saturday night's main event show that they could do some type of, Roman versus Cody, something happening with Cody.
I think that's a good point, yeah.
And then I don't know who's winning the Royal Rumble. I only know that they are the high chief of their tribe.
Very good,
Yeah, it's either that they are the high chief of their tribe, or I can't see them.
Yeah, fair.
Someone I can't see winning the Royal Rumble.
It'd be weird when no one's in the ring, but the bell's ringing like someone won.
I mean, I think there might only be 29 people in this year's Royal Rumble. Men's.
Wild year. It's going to be a wild year.
Yeah. So, and then Nia Jax and Liv Morgan. Man, Nia Jax, she was doing really good since she came back to WWE and was re-signed. There was a couple kind of like moments. I wouldn't necessarily call them botches, but, there were a couple of moments there. But she's still been really dominant against everybody. Just destroying Bayley like 8 times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just destroying, like, I'm still thinking about that bonsai drop she did on Lyra Valkyria and just murdered her.
Yeah.
She's just doing that to everybody.
I wonder if this is the time, is this big enough for Tiffany Stratton to interfere, cause Nia Jax to lose because, like, Tiffany Stratton just, like, chair shot to the head or whatever. Then Liv Morgan wins, and then Tiffany Stratton pins Nia Jax, too, to get the title. That might be big enough.
Yeah, I think this show is big enough for that to happen. They are obviously building toward, Tiffany turning on probably Nia. She's not going to beat Liv Morgan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because then the feud with Nia doesn't go anywhere, or the friendship turned, potential feud doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they could man. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Tiffany Stratton does help Nia win and then does beat Liv Morgan, but that's weird. Then they're on different shows.
Yeah.
What does that lead to? Yeah.
So I like your version where she, turns on Nia. Liv wins the Saudi Arabia championship, and then Tiffany comes in, cashes in Money in the Bank. That would be another thing that the Saudi
I love that. Yeah.
Prince would love as a big moment.
When's that contract up? Is that coming up soon?
Although I think that really what should happen is, because speaking of the bonsai drop, I really think that the person who should cost Nia Jax this match is Rodney. Yokozuna should come out and do the bonsai.
They can't get him.
Look, they can get him.
If there's one person who can get him, it's the Crown Prince. You're right.
Make the call. It's time for his introduction to the Bloodline by giving a bonsai drop to Nia Jax, who's also in the Bloodline.
Yeah, right.
To help Liv Morgan. That's what Yokozuna's role is going to be at this show.
That's 100% complete. Makes sense. Yep.
Solid, logical booking. Right there. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. I do like, on both the men's side and the women's side, I do like that this comes across as like when we see Liv and Dom and Raquel, it's like they're not on their show when they're not on their show. It's not just like a blur. The two rosters are split in a way that when we see Cody on Raw with Gunther, and when we see Like even just solo on Raw, going against Jey Uso, like just taunting Jey Uso. It's like you see these guys that it really comes off that they're coming over from their show and they're not just people who were here for a dark match and they're gonna or something like that,
Yeah, that's yeah, I know, and that's making it's better that way. It's way better that way. If you're gonna do a split, make it seem that way, or don't do it.
Yeah. So then it makes it when you do these one-off champion versus champion. I'm surprised we're not doing all the champions, like a whole Crown Jewel, like title, like an Intercontinental title too, and a tag team title. It's probably too soon for those because they just split those tag titles not that long ago.
That's true. Yeah. And we don't want I can't even think. Why am I? And LA Knight versus Braun Breaker, though, I like it.
Braun Breaker, another person who's very fast in the ring. This dude, they say he goes like 27 miles per hour.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, man, yeah.
For probably a split second, not even.
I wish we could go back to our NXT 2.0 podcast when we talked about Braun Breaker and see how we talked about him back then.
I think we did like one segment on NXT 2.0, and I just realized I'm not watching this anymore.
It was just it was so sad because I was so into. Yeah. Well, he's here now and he's pretty good.
When he's hitting the ropes, everybody tries to time the rope hitting perfectly, so you kind of bounce perfectly. He tries to just get to the ropes as fast as humanly possible. If you notice.
Oh yeah.
He sprints towards the ropes. And he doesn't stop. He doesn't run up so that way when he takes that step into the rope, it's the right rhythm.
Yeah,
or the right.
Slow.
He just goes toward the ropes, 100% speed, and then he bounces off of them perfectly, and he comes back out, and it's he doesn't lose any speed at all, and he just goes shoots off of the ropes so fast, and that super spear or whatever it's called he has
Looks great. Yeah,
looks like it hurts.
It definitely does
because he's coming at you so fast. But yes, we had Jey Uso winning the IC championship. I'm sure Rikishi was happy about that, finally.
Absolutely.
And then I'm sure Rikishi was not happy this week when Jey Uso lost the Intercontinental Championship back to Braun Breaker.
Yeah, but it's so good for the story of the Bloodline coming back together. So obviously we need Jey to get into the old Bloodline with Jimmy and Roman, and why would he do it so easily? So,
and there was this moment that happened when Braun Breaker faced off with Jacob Fatu on Raw.
Oh yeah,
there was that moment where even before they really faced off, just when some fans noticed that they were just even near each other, there was a few you could hear oh shit, and then they faced off and it was a big thing. So yes, please for that.
Absolutely.
That's what's crazy about Jacob Fatu is that he just shows up and most of these people that he faces off with, it's oh shit.
Yes, he's great. That's to be awesome. I love that people care. Maybe 3-4 years ago, no one would care about two people facing off like that. But now we're yeah, these guys are great. Let's go.
You wouldn't really get people having these cool face-offs, and if you did, they wouldn't have been built up to where they were cool to begin with. So then you have these lame face-offs.
There's nothing worse than a lame face-off. Oh God.
JBL, Triple H. No Way Out, is it? Or no, the Royal Rumble, right?
Listen,
Royal Rumble. JBL, Triple H.
JBL ruined my wrestling love for a very long time. So
haven't seen JBL back in a ring. I did see though. This isn't the indie net, but did you see Joey Janela got lit on freaking fire? On fire. His hair was on fire, his clothes, and he just stayed on fire. They stood him back up. He was on fire, standing up.
You don't have to do this, Joey, please.
Christ, that was a little bit much. I mean, I don't know if that was under the supervision of a fire department or what.
I'm sure it was, yeah.
At the showboat. But that was crazy. What else can we talk about? Any other WWE items here? Let me think here. We don't really have time to get into NXT. A lot going on in the NXT women's division, though.
Yeah. It's fun. NXT's fun again. Let's see. We got some WWE. WWE is so it's a great show. They're both great shows, and they're good to watch. I have fun watching them. I enjoy everything, but like the storylines are kind of like just like they're not new. There's just more layers to old storylines, which is fine. They're doing a great job. But it's like, what else can we talk about? It's just Bloodline. It's just champs, you know.
There's more layers to Damian Priest's thick New York Puerto Rican accent.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
If you've noticed that, he's busting that thing out. There's more layers to Dominic Mysterio's Dirty Sanchez mustache. Rey Mysterio pointed that out. If you remember,
how can I forget about that?
when he's walking in with Dragon Lee.
I do hope that's what I'm looking forward to. Like, I don't know, this is even whatever, but I just want the tag team titles to be like very important again, and I also want the War Raiders to be very important again. So hopefully we're heading towards that.
There's more layers to the bass in Adam Pearce's screaming voice lately as well. Have you noticed that?
He can do no wrong, Triple H. He's just booking layers.
Adam Pearce is just speaking with such a gravelly, angry voice. Do you think he's on his own Hangman arc where he's just getting more and more angry at this job?
Yeah, he's just... Well, whose house is he burning down?
Yeah, wait till Adam Pearce burns somebody's house down.
Nick Aldis's house or something for Survivor Series.
Yeah, you sound like a hair trigger, that Adam Pearce. And what do you think in general of Raw being only 2 hours now for the time being?
It's so funny. It's so weird. It's so weird. I like it. The show's good. It flies by. But man, it's so strange when it's over at 10. It's like I can go to bed at a reasonable hour.
It is weird because they essentially told they don't have enough time now for a major story. So they just had to like pull a story out and say like this is like somebody has to go. Like there's just not time for a big story now. Whoever that may be, Seth Rollins or CM Punk or whatever.
Yeah, which I'm in favor of that sometimes. Like, you don't need to see someone every single week. Build some anticipation. Wait for the next week. I like it. I mean, that's only going to last for 2 more months, and then that'll be gone. So maybe don't do that. Then people will want it.
There's more layers of extras being used as security when Bronson Reed chucks people like Marcus Mathers onto a crowd of people.
You need layers when it comes to Bronson Reed, okay?
Yeah.
I like it, though.
Did you see that? Marcus was on Raw.
I saw him, and
I texted you right away when I saw him.
I didn't watch that as it was happening. I watched it afterwards, and when you texted me that, I'm like, man, Marcus Mathers not going to play a convincing like security guard. And then I watched it, and I was like, he did.
Yeah.
Nice job, Marcus.
Just got thrown.
Good job getting thrown.
A lot of people got thrown on Raw. Jey Uso got chucked into that table that didn't break.
Oh, I hate when tables don't break. Yikes. And we're worried about him losing. It's okay that you lost, man. You took a beating. It's fine. Interference. You're so cool, man. Don't worry. Don't worry, Rikishi. We're good.
Yeah, we got to find out what Rikishi has to say about the latest. So we'll do a segment every show about the Bloodline and where that story's going, and then we'll do a segment on Rikishi, what Rikishi's thoughts on the Bloodline segment are. He's been out here, sharing his opinion on the podcast. He did write a pretty good song about Hulk Hogan, though.
Oh, it was amazing.
He said he was going to hit him with a Samoan spike.
For that reason alone, Rikishi can do no wrong to me. Right. Say what you will, Rikishi. All right?
All right, so that about does it for this episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. Folks, we are almost prepared to deliver our review of Heels, the series. We are going to be coming back with a Heels Season 1 redo and a Heels Season 2 review, a Heels Mega Review video coming at you soon. Almost ready to record a deep dive into the series Heels, where on my rewatching journey, I'm right at the part where a certain hooded figure descends into the ring in Season 2 in the Duffy Dome.
And bro, it ain't Sting, okay?
Yeah, it's not Steve Borden, folks. So we're going to be recording a big, long video where we discuss everything we can and all the DWL results, some FWD results, every known DWL former champion, every known DWL show is in these notes, and we did that with season 1 back when the show was strictly audio. So you can go back in the podcast archives and listen to that one. But you can also just stick around and subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss when we drop our mega review of the show Heels. So I'm super pumped for that. And we will be back with another episode next week. We will probably be talking about some NXT stuff. We'll probably be talking about Halloween Havoc. We might be talking about Halloween Hurtin'. We might be talking about WWE Crown Jewel. So, like I said, that about does it for this episode. Thank you for checking out the podcast. Thank you for sticking with us to the end of the show. Find us on social media at WWrestlingPod on X, at Watch Wrestling Pod on Facebook, at Watch Wrestling Podcast on Instagram. I said Watch Wrestling Pod earlier. It's Watch Wrestling Podcast on Instagram. And check out the TikTok, folks. You do not want to miss these TikToks, folks. Otherwise, Scott D'Amore, he's not going to catch any TikToks with that Maple Leaf Pro he's starting up over there at Maple Leaf Gardens, not the Winnipeg Gardens.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wallman.
There is no honor among thieves in the first place.